All right, class. First off, as always, good day. Today's video is chapter 1.2. And again, if you haven't seen these videos before, let me give you a little rundown on it. Um, if you have the packet, you're good to go. But if you don't have the packet, on your sheet of paper, be sure you put down warm up on the side, notes, um, answer to questions. That way I can see where you put your stuff. Okay, so don't, put it all together, jumbling it up because I won't be able to tell where your notes end and where you answered a question, things like that. So you might be missing out on points, and we don't want that. So be sure you clearly label on the side, warm up question, notes, uh, response to question or answers to question or response to question, things like that. Okay, so without further ado, let us begin. Okay, so here is your warm-up question. um, First off, look at this picture and analyze it. What do you see? Okay, so there are 5 things right there. What does each one of those things mean to you? Okay, you can list it, you can put in sentence form, however you like. Okay, but just analyze the picture. The second question is, what do you think this person, whoever made this, what do you think they're trying to say? Okay, going through this picture, analyzing it, seeing the 5 things, what do you think they're trying to say? Now remember, just like any other of those opinionated piece questions, um, the only way you could be wrong is one of 3 ways. 1, you don't answer. 2, you copy off someone else. Or 3, your response is so like left field, it makes no sense whatsoever. Okay? That's the only way you could truly be wrong on this opinionated piece, um, on your warm up and in the questions later on. All right, so if you didn't have enough time for the warm up, you can always go back to it and just pause it and then answer those questions, okay? But here are the notes. Now, Mesopotamia. It was called the land between 2 rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And if you look at the map to your right, you can see exactly where it is, okay? The thing is, they were interesting people because they learned how to control the flow of the river using irrigation and drainage ditches. So if there was an overflow in the rivers, they knew how to basically divert the water to keep the fields from flooding, to keep the town from flooding. So they're pretty smart people. City states. Now these are basically cities big enough to maintain political and economic control over their areas. All right. The problem is this: a lot of these city states, they would fight each other over essential things like water and land. Now, if you notice, I say water first because the thing is, water is key. Even though they're right near the Persian and the Mediterranean, you can't drink seawater. If you ever tasted it, you know it's just nasty as heck. But your body really can't take that salt water. You need fresh water, and that's where those rivers they provide it. Fresh water. So that's the key. That those rivers are very important. Water was essential, especially in that part of the world. And if you look at it again, as you can see, there's desert, Syrian desert, Arabian desert. You know, so yeah, it was important that there was um, a source of water coming into their place and that they could get it with ease. All right. So again, water was the most important thing, then land. All right. So we're going to talk about the first world empire. But before that, we have to understand what an empire is. And it's basically a large political unit or state. It usually is ran by one leader and controls a large amount of people and territory. All right, now the world's first emperor his name was Sargon, and he was the leader of the Akkadians. Now the thing is, he overran the Sumerian city-state. and his empire lasted from about 2340 BC to around 2100 BC. Now, if you look to the pictures to your right, those little statue figures, heads, those are pictures of him. So we have an idea how he kind of looked like. Okay, but yeah, that's Sargon. So you may recognize this face from the warm-up. That person is Hammurabi. And the thing that made him special is that he had created this code or laws. All right, but before we get to that, let's find out a little something about him. Basically, he took over two city-states and created a Mesopotamian kingdom. All right, now the thing is, he died in 1750, and the kings that followed him were very weak, because basically, in a sense, he had this large area, took it over, and those people had struggle keeping it. It's like just like in school. It's easy to get an A at the very beginning of the year. You just turn in the first couple assignments and hey, you got an A. But it's what really counts is at the end. So it's hard to maintain an A. It's easy to get an A, but to maintain it, that's the trick. Same thing with the Kings. To maintain the land and stuff like that and to expand, it's tough. The kingdom was no longer united and was taken over by invaders later on. Now, his codes and laws, they took criminal offenses very seriously. Now, I put down two of the laws. Um, One of them was it says law number 6: if if anyone steals from a property of the temple or the court, he shall be put to death. But here's the interesting part. Also, the one who receives the stolen thing from him shall be put to death. Now, I mentioned this in class, and there was like a couple people were like, "That's not right. Why should the person who bought the stuff um, be put to death?" And the way I explained it's like this: if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I got this designer purse, $3,000 purse, you know, hey, I'll sell it to you for $100, I'll sell it to you for $100," and you buy it, and it's like the genuine thing, and you buy it, you should have known better, because why? How's this person going to sell a $3,000 purse or shoes or whatever, something extremely high for so cheap? you know and usually these people who steal, they try to get rid of it quickly, because remember, the longer they have it, the more they are a target. you know so they try to get rid of it quick, fast, and they'll take whatever. And that's what he's saying, that you should have known better. You should have known, wow, this, even if it's like been used, you know a 3,000, 2,000, $1,000 um purse, shoes, phone, whatever, is not going to be sold for $100, $50, $20. No, you should have known better. And that's why they said, those people shall be put to death, because they should have known better. You know, I put another one here too at number 195. If a son strikes his father, his hand shall be sawn off. Um, so whatever hand you hit your parents or grandparents, that hand is going to go away. But here's a problem with Hammurabi's codes. It seems pretty cut and dry, but in reality, it wasn't really equal. So this is what I mean when I said uh, the laws weren't always completely equal. If a noble person, somebody with status, hurts a commoner, they would get punished. They would. It wouldn't be too bad. But if a commoner hurt a noble person, their punishment would be a lot harsher. So let's say a really rich, powerful person crashes, their car into yours. You would, probably get some compensation, maybe a new car, something like that. They would take the blame, and you know, they would have a punishment. Whereas if you hit them, you have to pay for their car, you're getting your license revoked, and they're just gonna throw the book at you. So that's the difference. Okay, it's like, wait, there was two wrecks, but the thing is, um, because of status, one person gets off of it just a little bit more than the other person. Now the code, which is right there to your right, it has said a lot about different things. Some of the things were consumer protection. They wanted to make sure that the buyer felt good knowing they're not going to get cheated by the person selling the stuff. Marriage and family, men's right. This one's more important. Women's rights. And there wasn't much to what they said about women's right, but it's interesting that they mentioned women's rights. The first laws in the world mention it, and women's rights won't be really mentioned again for some time. Okay, basically talks about the placement of the home, the placement of the father, the mother, children, grandparents, things like that. Also, it mentions the father's role over his children and his wife. You know, they tell you straight up what the husband's supposed to do, his responsibilities, things like that. All right. So here is your final question. Why do you think Hammurabi's code had rights for women? So why do you think the first laws in the world mentioned women? Okay, so there's a writing prompt on the bottom. I think Hammurabi's code had rights for women because, and explain yourself. Why do you think so? Okay, again, this is an opinionated piece. Use what you've learned so far and try to get an idea why he would mention women's rights. You know, why would they put that in? Um, the second question, you need to actually do some thinking about it, really focus on it, contemplate it, and that's why do you think future civilization had little to no rights for women? You know, the from the time of uh, Hammurabi after his code, I mean, all the way up until like the Dark Ages. You know, why weren't women given rights? Why weren't they seen as equals to men? You know, like why couldn't they own property and stuff like that? You know, why were they just seen as the ones who took care of the kids? They're supposed to make babies, and they're supposed to take care of the house. You know, why do you think during that time, that stretch of period in history, women's rights was not mentioned, but Hammurabi's code did. The first laws did, and it took a while for it to be mentioned up, be brought up again, uh, that women should have rights. So think about that one. Really, really think about it. Okay, take your time on it. Okay. So once you're finished with both questions written out in complete sentences, you are done. Okay. So that's the end of this class. All right, in this lesson. Um, be sure that you write down your name on your notes if you haven't done so already. And then when you go into the classroom, be sure to turn it in to the basket, the black basket, right when you walk through the door. It's on top of the bookshelf. You can't miss it. There's usually a stack of papers already there. Just turn it in. Okay. With that being said, hope you learned something new today, and I will see you in class. All right. See you later.